Worry about protests? Do you worry about Republic coming and shouting things
Everyone has a right to think what they want.
No one saw it coming when a royal relative dropped a bombshell comment. During what was meant to be a grand, elegant celebration at Windsor Castle, the atmosphere of tradition and pomp suddenly turned electric. Camilla's son, Tom Parker Bowles, made a remark about Princess Anne that left everyone completely speechless. Guests froze mid-conversation, whispers spread across the glittering hall, and even the polished calm of the royal aides couldn't hide the shock. What was supposed to be a casual comment instantly became the talk of the castle and the world beyond. The words ricocheted across the grand reception room, sparking stunned glances, gasps, and speculation. But the biggest reaction came from Prince William. How he responded left the room tense, silent for a heartbeat, and would send social media buzzing for days. Let's break down what happened that unforgettable evening. Over decades, the royal family has witnessed crowns being placed, alliances quietly sealed with champagne toasts, and subtle diplomacy performed behind polite smiles. But this night was different. It wasn't about politics or pageantry. It was a warm, family-focused gathering, celebrating Princess Anne's 50 years of tireless service to countless charities. The atmosphere carried that classic Windsor mix: rich floral perfume, ornate architecture, and the quiet authority that fills every royal hall. At the center of it all stood Princess Anne herself, composed, elegant, completely herself. No drama, no over-the-top displays, just her navy dress and her signature brooch pinned near her shoulder, symbolizing the dignity and steadiness she has embodied for decades. Guests whispered admiration, impressed by a woman who, despite unimaginable privilege, had dedicated her life to relentless service and duty. King Charles raised his glass with unmistakable pride, praising Anne's remarkable 5 decades of devotion. "This isn't just time, it's a life of service," he said, as applause and smiles filled the room. Camilla shone beside her husband, nodding with approval. Prince William watched Anne with quiet respect, moved by her unwavering example. She wasn't just his aunt, she was his anchor. Through the chaos of his youth, tragedies, and endless media attention, she had always been steady, never complaining, never seeking attention, always embodying everything he believed the monarchy should represent. As the evening flowed, conversations drifted from art to politics, and light-hearted laughter filled the room. Guests were relaxed, unaware that the night was about to change forever. Near the buffet table, Tom Parker Bowles joined a small cluster of guests. He was far better known for his culinary writing than any connection to royal circles, and while familiar, his presence at such a prestigious gathering felt a little out of place. Tom Parker Bowles had charm, wit, and a boldness that served him well in his career. But that night, it worked against him in the most unexpected way. Sipping his wine with an easy grin, he laughed at a courtier's joke about the royal family's famously slow pace of change. Then, casually, almost offhand, he remarked that while Princess Anne's dedication was admirable, her traditional approach to royal duties seemed somewhat outdated. Did factory visits, country fairs, and ribbon cuttings really resonate with modern Britain anymore? He asked aloud, his tone light, but the words landed heavier than he realized. For a heartbeat, no one reacted. In another setting, it might have passed as a simple, harmless comment. But here, in a room filled with centuries of tradition, hierarchy, and quiet authority, the words seemed to hang in the air like smoke from a sudden fire. Guests froze mid-sip. Smiles faltered. The mood shifted subtly but unmistakably. Princess Anne, standing just a few feet away, heard every word. But outwardly, she didn't flinch. Her posture remained impeccable, back straight, chin lifted, face composed. Yet those who truly knew her, Prince William, even Camilla, noticed the faintest signs. A tightening of her jaw, a brief flicker in her eyes. A line had been crossed, and the energy in the room shifted instantly. Conversations paused, laughter faded, and for a moment the warm, celebratory glow of the evening dimmed. William's eyes locked on Tom, jaw clenched, every muscle holding back words he wanted to say. This wasn't just a passing remark, it was a disrespectful slight, intentional or not, aimed at a woman who had devoted her entire life to service and duty. Anne, however, handled it with the calm precision only she could. She cleared her throat softly, voice steady, deliberate. "The connection to modern Britain," she said. is precisely why these visits continue. She explained that it wasn't about appearances or empty gestures, but about the people behind factory doors, the workers at market stalls, the very backbone of the nation. Her words were gentle, yet razor-sharp, leaving a subtle sting that reverberated across the room. The conversation shifted. Someone steered the topic elsewhere. Laughter returned, but the warmth and ease had evaporated. Camilla, standing nearby, smiled thinly. She didn't defend her son, but neither did she correct him. Perhaps it wasn't the right moment, or perhaps she simply didn't see the need. William, however, made a silent vow. This line of disrespect would not pass unnoticed. He felt the insult reverberate through him, sharp and undeniable. His respect for Princess Anne, his unwavering loyalty to family, his belief in quiet, steady duty, all of it screamed louder in that instant. Watching Camilla continue chatting as if nothing had happened, something inside William hardened. The rest of the evening passed in polite fragments, smiles forced, laughter strained, the air thick with unspoken tension. The speeches concluded, and guests began drifting out one by one, but the uneasy atmosphere lingered like a bitter aftertaste. Princess Anne left early, her composure flawless, every inch the dignified royal. King Charles shook hands and smiled, yet his eyes betrayed the worry he felt for his son. William remained silent, outwardly calm, yet beneath that composed surface, a storm was quietly gathering. What should have been a night of honor turned into the spark of a quiet, simmering Cold War. No one could predict how deeply it would affect William. On the night after the Windsor celebration, everything appeared calm from the outside, but inside his mind, chaos swirled. Sleep eluded him. Every time he closed his eyes, he replayed Tom Parker Bowles's careless words, the dismissive tone, the laugh that had belittled decades of Princess Anne's tireless work, her early mornings, her endless travels, her quiet devotion to the nation. Anne had stood tall and silent, embodying her usual grace. Camilla smiled lightly, pretending nothing had occurred, while Tom, a man who had never carried royal duty, brushed it off as harmless banter. But to William, it was far from harmless. It was a blatant slap at the foundation of everything the monarchy represents. By morning, the incident had already whispered through the palace corridors, not to the press, but among aides, staff, and courtiers who had witnessed the tension firsthand. Windsor Castle, with its ever-watchful eyes and listening ears, allowed even a pause in conversation to speak volumes. A senior palace source, the kind who often leaks to royal columns, later confirmed that William had been livid. To him, it was clear. This was disrespect. Plain and simple. Princess Anne represented the standard he strived to honor, the benchmark of duty, resilience, and service. To William, this wasn't gossip. It was family betrayal, and the word betrayal hit him like a hammer. He had spent years learning to keep his emotions close to his chest, to appear calm in public, no matter the storm inside. Losing Princess Diana, watching the relentless media circus, had taught him the power of self-control. But that composure comes at a cost. The deep emotions William usually suppresses quietly explode behind closed doors. Later that week, at a small private lunch in London, one of his longtime friends asked about what had happened at Windsor. William didn't spill the full story, but he said just enough. He remarked that there is a certain way things are done in the royal family, and that night it simply wasn't. It was classic William, composed on the surface, but firm underneath. That afternoon, he made a decision. He needed to call Princess Anne to make sure she was okay. Anne, of course, sounded completely unfazed. "Oh, that," she said in her famously dry tone. "Water off a duck's back. Don't waste your breath, William." But this time, he was wasting his breath, because it wasn't just about Anne anymore. To William, that moment had become symbolic. It felt like a test of loyalty, and some members of the family had failed it in private. He confided to one of his advisors that the public's respect for the monarchy hinges on the family's own respect for one another. He had a point. The British monarchy lives and dies by perception. It isn't just crowns, ceremonies, or appearances. It's unity. And after the turbulence of recent years, Prince Harry's departure, Netflix series, tell-all books, the last thing the family needed was further division. So when Tom Parker Bowles casually joked about Anne's old-fashioned style, William didn't just hear an insult. He heard a crack in the wall, a tiny fissure, but enough to worry him. Meanwhile, the media noticed something else, a shift in William's demeanour during a royal visit to Birmingham. A few days later, reporters noted he seemed tense. One journalist from The Telegraph described him as polite, but unusually quiet. Another observed that his smiles didn't quite reach his eyes, despite the polished exterior. William was seething, and not just at Tom. Camilla's silence that night had unsettled him too. He understood her position, mother first, queen second, yet he couldn't help but compare the moment to what his late grandmother, Queen Elizabeth II, or even his father would have done. Silence, in his view, equaled approval, and that cut deep. When William returned home to Adelaide Cottage, Kate immediately noticed the change. He was pacing, short-tempered, restless. When she asked what was wrong, he simply said, "It's family stuff." But Kate knew better. She always does. Friends say she told a close confidant that William feels fiercely protective of Princess Anne. To him, she isn't just family. She's the backbone of the monarchy. When someone mocks her, it's not just a personal insult, it's an attack on the institution itself. In the days that followed, William threw himself into work with relentless focus. School visits, military duties, meetings about mental health initiatives. On camera, he was calm, composed and charming, the future king at his best. But those closest to him noticed something different. His coldness toward Camilla lingered, subtle but unmistakable. At a royal event later that same week, cameras captured a moment that fans dissected online for hours. As William walked past Camilla during a public appearance, he gave her a polite nod. Nothing more. No hug, no warmth, just protocol. Royal watchers were quick to spot it. One well-known blog even suggested that William had been deliberately keeping his distance from Camilla's family. A quiet but deliberate signal of the ongoing tension inside the palace walls. Aides noticed too. They had seen this pattern before. It was reminiscent of the cracks that appeared when Diana and Charles's relationship began to falter. Quiet, formal, cold. No one needed to shout. William's composure spoke volumes. His icy calm was louder than anger ever could be. A message aimed precisely at the intended audience. Camilla might have assumed the incident would blow over, but for William, this wasn't something to ignore. Respect, once broken, is hard to rebuild, and this was only the beginning. Behind the stone walls of the castle, silence reigned, but it was far from peaceful. Something had shifted, and everyone could feel it. William had been trained to keep his emotions hidden under the eyes of millions, but that night, the restraint slipped. Returning to his private quarters, he shut the door harder than usual, a small yet telling gesture. The tension between William and Camilla didn't start with one dinner or a single careless remark. It had been building for years, a clash between two different eras of the royal family. William grew up witnessing the pain his mother endured, the relentless tabloids, the heartbreak and scandals. Camilla had been a central figure in that story, and while the world has tried to rewrite history, William had not forgotten. So when anyone from her side, especially her son, Tom Parker Bowles, crossed the line, it wasn't just disrespect. It was a reminder of the past, a trigger of old wounds, and a challenge to the values William holds dear. The incident reopened old wounds. Royal sources often say that William is polite toward Camilla, but in reality, he keeps her at a distance. He respects her role, but not necessarily her past. According to royal biographer Angela Levin, William has always been fiercely protective of his mother's memory. Even years after the marriage, he struggled to fully accept Camilla's presence in the family. So when Tom Parker Bowles made that comment about Princess Anne's leadership style being old-fashioned, it struck William like a lightning bolt. It wasn't just a casual remark. It felt like a repeat of disrespect towards someone he deeply valued. In the days that followed, William barely spoke to Camilla. Whenever they crossed paths at official meetings, their exchanges were painfully brief and rigid, wrapped in formality that left staff members uneasy. One insider later told the Daily Mail that the chill in the air was palpable whenever they were in the same room. Even King Charles noticed the tension and attempted to intervene, inviting William for a private conversation at Clarence House. But the talk didn't go as planned. William reportedly told his father that he had tried to keep the peace, but he could no longer pretend everything was fine if boundaries continued to be crossed. Charles, who has always championed family unity, asked him to let it go, suggesting that Tom probably meant no harm. But William stood his ground. To him, it wasn't just about Tom, it was about what the monarchy represented. And there, at the heart of the issue, lay a deeper divide. William's vision for the monarchy is fundamentally different from his father's. While Charles leans toward forgiveness and adaptation, William believes in accountability, dignity, and protecting the family image. He envisions a monarchy that feels modern, clean, and trustworthy. In his view, that means no more scandals, no more careless words, and no tolerance for disrespect. Throughout it all, Kate has quietly supported him behind closed doors. She has become his anchor, offering guidance and strength. Friends close to the couple revealed that she encouraged him to speak his mind, but always with grace, especially as they prepared for another royal event where Camilla would be present. "You can be firm without being cruel," she reportedly advised. But despite this guidance, tensions only escalated at public appearances. A few weeks later, William and Camilla were photographed standing together, smiling for cameras. But insiders revealed the smiles never reached their eyes. It was all for show. One palace source said they were polite, but icy, and the press noticed. Headlines soon appeared: "Royal rift behind palace gates." Every glance, every interaction, every family dinner became fodder for speculation. The pressure was immense. Behind the scenes, William began carefully limiting contact with Camilla's side of the family. At official events, he remained polite, cordial and composed, but he avoided private gatherings where Tom or Laura might be present. Those closest to him said it was his way of setting firm boundaries, yet not everyone in the family understood his intentions. Princess Anne, ever the realist, warned him during a visit not to let pride become his downfall, but William shook his head firmly, replying that this was principle, not pride. Even Prince Harry, who had already stepped back from royal duties by this time, reportedly called his brother after hearing about the ongoing tension. According to a source, Harry told William, "I get it. Some things cut deeper than people think." It was one of the few times the brothers had been in agreement lately, a rare moment of understanding amidst the chaos. The rift with Camilla wasn't explosive, it was quiet, cold, and heavy with unspoken tension, and that silence made it far more powerful. In the royal family, silence can speak louder than shouting. For William, this wasn't just a family disagreement, it was about legacy. He wanted to ensure that when the day came to wear the crown, it would be unburdened by old grudges, scandals, and disrespect. Yet he knew that some shadows never truly fade. As the tension simmered, the public began noticing subtle signs. The royal family's smiles for the cameras were strained, gestures stiff, and the energy off just enough for observers to pick up on it. Everything came to a head during a high-profile public event, the Clarence House Charity Gala. The evening was meant to celebrate the King's personal project, raising funds for climate initiatives under the Prince's trust. Celebrities, philanthropists, and dignitaries from around the world arrived, and cameras were everywhere. It should have been a showcase of unity, elegance, and service. But instead, it became the stage where private tensions would flare into public spectacle. Prince William and Princess Kate arrived first, calm and composed. The press noted Kate's radiant elegance in a stunning blue gown, the same shade Princess Diana had once worn to a state banquet in 1989. Commentators called it a subtle nod to legacy and continuity. William, as always, appeared serious yet approachable, chatting with guests, shaking hands, and performing his royal duties flawlessly. Then Queen Camilla arrived, accompanied by her son, Tom Parker Bowles, and that's when the night shifted. The atmosphere tensed immediately. Every photographer in the room could feel the tension thick in the air. The tabloids had been quietly speculating for weeks about the coldness between Prince William and the Queen Consort's family, but no one knew exactly what would happen next. Then it came. William and Tom Parker Bowles met in the reception line. The air practically froze. No words were exchanged. Just a handshake, quick, stiff, and purely professional. Even in the photos, it was unmistakable. William's jaw was tight, his expression unreadable. Tom offered a half-hearted smile, as if trying to diffuse the moment, but it had no effect. Reporters later described it as the most awkward 5 seconds in recent royal history. Camilla herself barely managed a faltering smile, almost imperceptible unless you were looking closely. She reached out and lightly touched Tom's shoulder, a silent reminder to hold it together, but the tension had already settled over the ballroom like a heavy fog. The atmosphere was thick. Everyone tried to pretend nothing was wrong, but small gestures gave it away. William refused to sit near Camilla. The seating chart placed him at the opposite end of the table, beside Kate and the Danish ambassador. Tom, meanwhile, was positioned near his mother, speaking quietly, eyes cast downward. Observant royal watchers online noticed immediately, and within hours, #royal tension was trending on Twitter. Fans began comparing this gala to past events, remarking how much had changed. One commenter referenced a 2022 photo. They used to laugh together. Now they look like strangers. During the speeches, the king thanked everyone warmly, but his eyes briefly flicked toward William and Camilla, silently pleading for harmony. Harmony, however, was nowhere to be found. When it was William's turn to address the crowd on environmental responsibility, his words were calm, precise, and measured. Yet there was a subtle edge that made listeners pause. "True service isn't about popularity or appearances," he said. "It's about consistency. It's about doing the work quietly, faithfully, even when no one is watching." The remark was subtle, yet everyone in the room understood exactly who it was aimed at. Applause followed, polite but tense. Cameras captured Camilla clapping slowly, her face unreadable. Tom, meanwhile, looked down at his plate, avoiding the gaze of anyone nearby. The next morning, headlines exploded. The Daily Mail, People magazine, and The Times ran variations of the same story. William's subtle message at the gala, a royal rift in plain sight. The articles never mentioned Tom Parker Bowles' comment about Princess Anne directly, but they didn't need to. The story had already taken on a life of its own. Royal experts like Jenny Bond and Katie Nicholl weighed in, dissecting every glance, every gesture from the gala. Jenny Bond told GB News that William has always admired Princess Anne, and if someone insulted her dedication, it would strike him personally, deeply, and with lasting impact. Meanwhile, Camilla's friends spoke out anonymously to defend her family. One told The Telegraph that Tom hadn't meant anything by his words and that it had been blown out of proportion. Camilla reportedly hated that the situation was causing strain, but William wasn't convinced. To him, this wasn't about exaggeration. It was about drawing a line, a quiet message that not everything could be laughed off or treated as harmless banter. Inside Kensington Palace, aides began noticing something subtle but unmistakable. William was taking a more defined leadership role, quietly asserting his authority. He decided which public appearances to prioritize, carefully shaping how the monarchy presented itself. Through his discipline, focus, and protective instincts, he was showing the world and the royal family what kind of king he would one day become: decisive, principled, and deeply committed to the values his family had upheld for generations. Behind the scenes, frustration simmered. Camilla reportedly confided to a close friend that it wasn't fair for William to treat her son like an outsider. Charles, meanwhile, found himself torn between love for his son and loyalty to his wife, knowing he could not mediate every rift forever. Slowly, the tension began seeping into the public image of the monarchy, a careful facade that Charles had spent years building and protecting. The gala, meant to symbolize unity and highlight the royal family working together for a greater cause, instead revealed the cracks beneath the glitter. By the end of the evening, everyone left quietly. No joint photos, no warm waves, just cold smiles and separate cars pulling out of Clarence House. For the press, that was all the confirmation they needed. Behind the pomp and protocol, something had shifted permanently. Charles knew the silence spoke volumes. In families this powerful, it isn't shouting matches that cause the most damage, it's the quiet tension that lingers. After that night, the king reportedly decided he'd had enough. He called for a private meeting behind palace doors, a conversation whose details remain tightly guarded, but insiders say it revealed unusual truths that left many in tears. The chill from the Clarence House gala didn't fade. It crept into every corridor, every chamber, every royal interaction, and even the king could feel it, a silent reminder that unity, once fractured, is never easily restored. And when the tension started affecting official duties, King Charles knew it had gone too far. He called for a private family meeting in his study at Buckingham Palace. The air was heavy. thick with unspoken words. Princess Anne declined, saying she had a prior engagement with one of her charities, leaving the others to face the room under a cloud of unease. Eyes avoided meeting, and the silence was almost suffocating. Charles spoke first, calm but firm, expressing concern about how the conflict could damage both the family and the monarchy. He stressed the need for open communication and respect. Tom Parker Bowles admitted he had meant no disrespect and insisted he deeply admired Princess Anne. Camilla defended her son, saying his comment wasn't malicious and that it was unfair to scrutinize her children so closely. Even with an agreement to move on, the tension lingered. William's fierce protection of his aunt was unmistakable. It wasn't just loyalty, it was principle. He was quietly showing what kind of king he would be. Disciplined, principled, and unafraid to defend the values of the crown. Camilla's defense of her son, on the other hand, reminded everyone of the challenge of blending love and tradition in the royal family. Ultimately, the monarchy isn't sustained by crowns, wealth, or ceremony. It survives through respect, restraint, loyalty, and the courage to stand for what's right. These moments revealed the delicate balance behind the royal image, where private tensions can ripple into public perception. What do you think? Is there a line between a casual remark and profound disrespect? Who was in the wrong? Let us know in the comments. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And click the next video to see how the royal drama continues.